Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to a special edition of Geeks Not Nerds, the podcast. My guest tonight on the program is a writer for IDW who's done a whole bunch of Star Trek and Doctor Who work. Currently, putting out the Harlan Ellison original screenplay series for City on the Edge of Forever. We've got Scott Tipton tonight.
How you doing?
Scott, how you doing, man? Thanks for being on the program.
My pleasure.
I want to know, Scott, jumping straight into it, how you and your brother David got together working for IDW. How did you guys become the big go-to Star Trek guys, and how did you get gigs together so often?
Well, it's funny. The way it worked really was being in the right place at the right time, and just when the opportunity came, jumping at it. I had been writing comics for IDW previously. I was doing some of their Angel and Spike books.
Okay.
And I had been doing that because the IDW's editor-in-chief, Chris Ryle, and I used to run Kevin Smith's website, Movie Poop Shoot. And so,
oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
So
okay.
then, whenever Chris got the job at IDW as the editor-in-chief, he knew I always wanted to write comics, and I said, "Look, I'm not going to pitch you like everybody else. Whenever something comes along you think I'm a good fit for, just let me pitch for it." And when they got, he gave me a couple little horror anthology stories just to kind of like make sure I could write, I think. And then when they got the Angel license, he said, "What do you think you got a Spike one-shot in you?" I was like, "Absolutely." So that went well, and then I was writing Angel books pretty steadily when they got the Star Trek license. And once they got the Star Trek license, I was like, oh, "Okay, now we're off and running." I said, "I'm not asking to give me the job; just open the door. Just let me pitch. I'll take care of the rest, man. Just give me that chance." So he let me pitch and the first book they wanted to do was a Klingon series. And I knew that if I was going to be doing this first Star Trek series, I was going to be talking to my brother about advice and about Star Trek throughout the whole thing, because we have very similar ideas about what makes a good Star Trek story. And so I called him up. I said, "Look, just come in and write this with me. If you like it, we'll keep doing it. If not, don't worry about it. But at least this way, I'm not always harassing you and taking up your time, and you're not getting paid for it."
Yeah.
And so we did that first Klingon series. He really enjoyed it. The working relationship was great, and ever since then, we've pretty much done everything together except for the Angel stuff. When that comes along, that's still usually just me. But anything like Star Trek, the Doctor Who stuff, our Astro Boy work, our work for Archie, we've always worked together since then. So yeah, it's been going great.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So when you guys do a book together, how exactly does, I mean, I know you probably wouldn't want to go too much into detail, but how does compensation work when you have two writers on the same book?
Oh, we both submit our voucher and we both get checks. Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's not any like eyebrow raising at the company where it's like, oh, we're going to have to spend more on this book than we would if only one person was writing
No, I
it?
mean there are plenty of cases where books are being co-written across the board at pretty much every company, so it's pretty common.
Yeah, I just always wondered how exactly that worked, if there's like a check that gets split or, you know.
I mean the rate stays the same, but you're doing half the work, so it's not as if the ability to share the load makes up for that.
Yeah, okay, that's a really good point. I like how IDW puts labels the books when there's two people of the same last name. They always do the squared thing now. Were you guys the first people that got the squared?
I think so. And initially, I remember they tried that a couple of years ago, and for some reason it didn't happen. And then in this most recent book with Harlan, all of a sudden it was back. I think it's kind of funny, so I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I've seen it now with a couple other people too, and I think it's cool that they do that.
Yeah, the most recent one was that we did the tricorder special with X Prize, with all the doctors, and that was us and the Sharp.
Yeah.
That was us and the Sharp brothers. So they used it twice in the same cover.
I got that, but I really enjoyed that. I want to say that's the first time Dr. Phlox has ever appeared in a comic book.
Actually, we squeezed him in for one panel in one of our Klingon books.
Oh, did you really? Okay. I have a couple of the Klingon books, but I didn't go. So the Klingon books you're talking about, because it's just those are several years old now.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember. Are those the ones that there were a couple issues that they printed in actual Klingon?
Yeah, that was Blood Will Tell, and
that was you guys.
Yeah, that was
okay.
And the first issue was the one that was offered in a fully Klingon translation.
I didn't remember right off if that was you guys or not, but that means that was my first introduction to you. Because my wife is a giant Star Trek fan, and she's a big Klingon fan. And we actually, when we first started dating, I got her interested in Star Trek because of the language because she's into linguistics. And one year I got her one of your books in Klingon for a stocking stuffer.
Oh, great.
And that's how I was introduced to you guys. Talk about what Harlan Ellison is like.
Harlan is a mad genius. That's the best way to describe him, really. I mean, he's everything you want him to be as far as living up to his reputation. But he's also I mean, he's also a sweet guy, and he doesn't want anyone to know it. You know, he's a great guy. I've actually gotten to know Harlan for a few years before this because
I had read that in one of your interviews, and I wanted to ask you how that happened.
well, I also own a comic book shop here in North Hollywood.
Do you
Yeah,
really?
I own Blastoff Comics with Judd Myers and I own Blastoff.
Oh, that's fantastic! I didn't know that. How big is your store?
It's a nice it's a good little store. It's we're in North Hollywood, just off of Lancashire and Magnolia, and we mostly specialize in vintage books and then trades and hardcovers. We're not really a toy store. We're very much strictly a comics and bookstore. And one of the things we do is we specialize in handling the collections of creators. We sold Mark Waid's collection, we sold Carl Kiessel's collection, and we sold some of Harlan's collection as well.
That's
So
fascinating.
that was how I got to know Harlan.
Cool. Well, I'll let you tell that story, but a little bit later we're gonna have to talk retail.
Oh, cool.
Because that's really cool. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, anyway, so that was how I first got to know Harlan, was us handling his collection. I mean, his collection is vast, so he wasn't selling the whole thing, but he was looking to sell a portion of it, and we handle that for him. And
Yeah,
he is his house is a marvel. I mean, I don't. It's he calls it the Lost Aztec Temple of Mars, and it's this. They're just almost like a ziggurat up in the hills over Sherman Oaks, and it's just a beautiful house. It's magnificent.
So I read that there had been talk years prior about possibly adapting the original teleplay for Studying the Edge of Forever in some capacity. What finally changed his mind on that in allowing it to happen?
I think it was a number of things. Now, I don't think it was just Harlan. It was also CBS as well. Chris Ryle has been a big fan of Harlan's forever and of this project. And when we first got the Star Trek license, one of the first things he did was try to make this happen. And at the time, he and Harlan weren't that well acquainted, and CBS and Harlan had gone at each other over various legalities over the years. So there was kind of a trepidation on both sides about doing it. So Chris would just put it away, and then every couple of years he would come back and reapproach it. And this time, at this point, Chris had been working with Harlan for years on projects for IDW. They published his Phoenix Without Ashes, and that had gone really well. CBS trusts IDW very much as a partner now in terms of licensing the comics, and since now Harlan knew me, there was less trepidation about giving his baby to somebody else to adapt, and so it was just kind of a matter of the stars being in alignment.
Now, what is the adaptation process like? Because I think I read that you guys are adapting that 100% word for word the way the original teleplay was.
We are not, yeah.
So what is your job on that like? Because you're not getting to write dialogue.
No. Every single word of dialogue is genuine Harlan dialogue. Every direction is genuine Harlan direction. What he wants to see, where he wants the camera to be, what he wants the perspective to be in the mood. We are basically this is Harlan's house. We're the ones just taking a hammer and building the structure for it.
Yeah, wow. So how much creative license does Woodward get then?
Woodward get a pretty fair amount in terms of taking Harlan's descriptions and making them and bringing them to the page. So he has a fair amount of creative license, but it's also J.K. is as much a fan of Harlan as we are, and he wants this to look like Harlan's vision. So we're kind of all in service to Harlan's vision on this.
Well, you can really see the reverence for the material in his drawing.
I think it's the best work J.K.'s ever done. And
I was gonna say I think so as well. I liked I liked a lot of stuff he did. I've actually talked to Woodward before, and and he, by the way, he's a really cool
Yeah.
guy, and I liked a lot of the stuff in his Doctor Who Star Trek. I thought it got better as it went along. This was beautiful from the outset, just magnificent from page
Yeah.
one.
One of the reasons too is J.K.'s working at a much bigger scale on this project. The pages
Yeah.
are enormous.
Well, I'd hope that he's getting more time on it.
Yeah, I think he is. He is. The Doctor Who Star Trek project.
He told me he had to kind of rush that. He acted like he had like 4 hours of sleep every day while he worked on
Yeah, well,
that.
that tends to be his pattern to in general, but very much so on Trek Who, because of the way it worked. The approval process for it to be announced and to be approved by everybody was rather long, and so what initially for him was supposed to be a much longer lead time got whittled down more and more over the course of it, to the point that by the end of the series, he really wasn't sleeping much at all. And then of course the hurricane hit and swept away his house, which didn't help either.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
about
and when he
that.
was finishing issue 8, he got caught in the hurricane and lost everything.
Oh, that's horrible.
And
I had no
and
idea.
it was about 3 months later he was back out here in California where he belongs. So there's no more hurricanes for JK.
Wow. I must have interviewed him like 2 or 3 months before that
Yeah,
happened. Oh my goodness, that's insane. Well, what is working with him
it's
like?
the best because the first time we worked with him was on Star Trek Doctor Who, and on
Yeah.
our first script we had included a much more description about the various elements of Star Trek that we would want to see on the pages, and we gave him a huge file of photo imagery and reference. And then when the first pages came back, we realized that he knew as much about Star Trek as we did, and all of a sudden our jobs got much easier.
I could tell that just talking to
Yeah,
him.
so
Yeah.
we could just say, okay, we want this control room to look like a next gen version of the briefing room and the voyage home, and boom, it's there. And
Yeah.
we don't need to go do screenshots and screen captures. He adds so much more Trek detail than you could ever expect. It's fantastic.
Well, there were all these places in that book where I would look at Picard and be like, "All right, that's Picard's face in his reaction in this speech
Yes.
in this episode." Yeah. So it goes without saying that there's been a lot of lately these kinds of adapting earlier versions of stories that eventually turned into something else. What do you think is worthwhile about going back and seeing those things realized in comic book form?
Pardon me. Sorry. I think it depends on the project.
Yeah,
I think there needs to be something to it that has kind of an inherent interest. Like with Dark Horse's Star Wars project, that original Lucas script had been talked about and read for years and years and years. So that kind of had this cachet to it that people wanted to see. Which,
yeah, it had a historical
exactly,
significance.
and that's very similar to what we're doing with Harlan's. I mean, the legend of Harlan's City on Edge Forever has been around for 40 years. So this is another one where there is that inherent interest where people want to see it and want to see what could have been. I think that also is the biggest thing, is the what could have been factor.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying it immensely because I've never read that script. I know it's been published in some places, but I think it's been out of print for a good long
Yeah,
time,
it
yeah.
has been.
And so me being as young as I am, I mean, I'm almost 30, and I just I don't think it's been in print much of my lifetime. And so I never got a chance to read it. So it's kind of fun for me getting to see, because I'd always heard about it, but like getting to see all the different elements as it comes. I didn't realize that in his original version, the Guardian of Forever was a bunch of
Yeah,
dudes.
they're actual beings. They're physical people. And
Yeah,
people always ask me which I like better, and I can't pick because I mean I like them both. I think the idea of the Guardian as a gateway is a genius visual for television. I think that works so well. But
yeah.
then you read Harlan's script and you have these people actually conversing with Kirk and Spock, and it works so well to just the same that I'm not willing to say it's any less good than the filmed version.
So let's talk Trek a little bit. What are you? I mean, I guess this would be a dumb question because I just did come to think of it because I just read that one shot you put out. Clearly, you know about just about everything. Yeah, I mean all 5 series. There's not anything you skipped.
No, no, yeah, I've been in from the get go. Yeah,
What is your favorite series?
it depends what day you ask me. It's going to come down to either original series or Next Generation.
Do you have a favorite episode? Do you have a favorite episode for each series? Can you go that
Oh,
far? Can you go that far?
for classic, I would say City on the Edge for sure. For Next Generation, and I know I'm in the minority in this, it's probably Conspiracy. I love Conspiracy.
Well, I think Conspiracy is one of the only really good first season episodes.
It's so dark and so grim and so unexpected. There's just a lot of good stuff there. For Deep Space Nine,
No one has ever. I've asked this question to so many Star Trek people. No one has ever said that. That's a great pick.
yeah, I love it. I mean, there probably isn't a couple months that doesn't go by where I'm not quoting to my brother, "We seek peaceful coexistence." You know, whenever somebody has a bad idea, they're trying to convince me. I always bust out, "We seek peaceful coexistence." Um, I don't really have a favorite episode for Deep Space Nine, probably because that was the one series that really did more with the long term storytelling, and I
Yeah.
really like that about Deep Space Nine. So I mean, I like the arcs more so than any specific episode I can call out.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, and I get sketchier on episode titles with the last two series just because there's not been as many reruns. But with Voyager, the episode with the Year of Hell.
Which is called Year of
Oh, there you
Hell.
go. I guess I better than I thought. That
Yeah,
one's a great one for me.
Year
Although
of Hell's
I
great.
also have a kind of sick fascination with that episode where Paris and Janeway become giant lizards.
Yeah, I think that I think Braga even agrees that should have been somehow
And
decanonized.
not only become giant lizards, but if I'm not mistaken, they actually start doing it.
Oh yeah. Well, no, they have lizard
Yeah,
babies.
exactly. They start breeding. It's just
Yeah, when they get there, we find out they've had several lizard babies.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
weird and wrong. I didn't really get my head around Voyager until I really got the concept. And I think Dave was the one that actually pointed out to me. The whole show is the whole point of the show is it's a dysfunctional crew. It's an effed up crew, and when you stop judging them by the way you judge other Star Trek shows, it works so much better. Like another great episode for Voyager is Tuvix.
I like Tuvix. A lot of people don't like that. I think it's
It's
hilarious. I also think the guy who plays that role did an
He does
exceptional
a
job.
great job. But
Yeah.
when they just throw that poor bastard back in the teleporter and force him to get unmade, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
And it goes against all the kind of utopian ideals that are in all the Roddenberry stuff. It's just wrong. And I like that Voyager was willing to take those kind of chances.
A thing I always wondered about with Tuvix was you've got Tuvok and Neelix, and they become one person, but they're also holding a plant in a suitcase. And the plant and the suitcase disappear when they get put together. So you have to wonder just how much of that personality is because there was a plant in a suitcase in the
Or maybe
mix.
they just have more fiber.
Well, and that also comes from both
Yes.
uniforms, which somehow are rather mixed to make a different looking
Well,
uniform.
yeah, it's a lovely melding of fabric. It's a nice blend.
There is nothing more 80s cartoon
Yeah.
in Star Trek than that episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Do you have a favorite Enterprise episode? Can you go?
again, I'm iffy on the titles, but the Mirror Mirror
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, In a Mirror
Yeah,
Darkly.
those are
Yeah.
great.
That's a lot of people's
Yeah.
favorite. Did you see the deleted scene from that?
I have not.
There's this great, and I don't know why they took it out because it's really neat. There's this great deleted scene where Mirror Archer gives his big speech. You remember, and then he walks away, and everybody's applauding like nervously, and he walks away, and this is the scene they cut to. There's this deleted scene where he looks over at some crewman holding a phaser rifle, and he says, "Shoot the first person who stops clapping."
That's great.
Why would you lose that?
That
Awesome.
had to be just for time. Because
Isn't that cool?
that's a great. Now I'm gonna go dig out the DVD set and look.
Dig out the DVD and watch that. It's neat. I don't know why you'd cut that.
That's a great moment.
Yeah, it's really neat. Well, okay, I gotta ask you this because you wrote that Doctor one shot. Who's your favorite Doctor?
Oh,
Who's your favorite Doctor in Star Trek? And then we can talk Doctor Who for.
Well, what's funny is I know I would have said I still say probably I mean McCoy is entertaining and I have a soft spot for Crusher, but the biggest surprise for me was how much fun Pulaski is to write.
Okay, I can see.
Because I don't know if you know the background on the Doctor special. That's one
Yeah.
that was it's a sponsored by the guys at X Prize, who are sponsoring that great contest to create a real life medical tricorder.
Okay, so is that what that's about? Because that is the only thing I've ever seen an ad for that
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
And I didn't realize it was there because they Okay, so they like specifically commissioned you to do that one
Oh yeah,
shot?
totally.
Oh, okay, that's really
And so
interesting.
we, you know, and this is the kind of thing that happens with my brother and I is we always get the strange calls from CBS and IDW where it's like, "Hey, can you give us something with Star Trek and zombies?" And we're like, sure." Uh, can you give us something with Star Trek and Doctor Who? Yeah, okay. And with this one, I was like, yeah, we need a story with all 6 doctors and lots of tricorders. What do you got? I,
And lots of
I said we
tricorders.
can do that. And so the guys from X Prize, they're great guys, and they're big Trek fans. And so when we first started kind of developing the story, they were pretty involved as far as talking to us and suggesting things, and they were really big on including Pulaski. And I hadn't really planned on it because I was going to my mind, the next gen Doctor is Crusher, so that's who we're going to use.
That's got to be the first time Pulaski's been in anything in a really
I
long
think so.
time.
Maybe some of the novels, but
Maybe some novels, yeah,
I
but
don't think the comics.
has she ever been drawn?
I don't think so.
Ever?
I mean, I would have to go back and look. Maybe if DC was doing next gen comics during second season, I don't think they were. So probably not.
I don't think there were either. I'm not sure there was. I want to say the DC series didn't start till
Yeah.
'91, but I'm not sure if I'm right about that.
So we included Pulaski, and then as we actually got into the scripting of it, Pulaski is so much fun to write. And what we kind of realized is that the tricky thing about Pulaski is, she has to come off as kind of a jerk, but if you have other characters kind of realize that she doesn't mean it and aren't so offended and kind of pushed out of shape all the time, you can get a very fun interplay. So
Yeah.
we very intentionally had Crusher not take her too seriously, and that way you still get Pulaski being cranky as usual without her coming across as so unlikable, which was often the problem in that season.
Well, and that's the thing that's fun. That was fun about doing that because you've never seen those two characters on screen together.
Yes. And that was always the problem for me with the Pulaski season is you could tell they wanted to recreate the Spock McCoy back and forth, but the problem was Data would never fire back at her the way Spock would McCoy.
Well he
Yeah, he
couldn't.
couldn't. So Pulaski always looked like she was kicking a puppy all the time.
Yeah. And then as soon as she kind of gets over it, there's nothing else for her to do.
Exactly, exactly. So that was where Pulaski was such a surprise. Like playing her against other characters who were actually peers made her so much more fun. And using the EMH as kind of that same kind of character who she would not like and mistrust. But he's somebody who will kind of jab back a little bit and will be offended. That turned out to be a lot of fun.
Well, and she seems a little bit out of time because, like, the rest of the Federation has kind of settled all of this, like holographic and android right
Yeah,
stuff.
and again, it's more
So she's just kind of out. She's kind of out of time. She's like McCoy with the
right, and she's
transporters.
mostly just.
Although I think she also had a thing with the
Oh, she did, yeah,
transporters.
yeah, and that
Oh, in fact, you wrote about it in your book.
yeah, it came across as very contrarian and very clearly a McCoy reference.
Yeah. Well, and then of course you have McCoy in that, so you're able to sort of show a little bit of a parallel between
Yeah,
those
yeah,
characters.
that was so. There's going to be a lot of fun, and we got to sneak Mabenga in there, and you almost never get to use Mabenga. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, Mabanga. There is, I forget who it is. There's a TOS episode where some character mispronounced. There's a lot of really funny mispronunciations in TOS, and there's somebody somewhere calls him Mbanga.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Like there's like because it's a capital M. They don't. It's not Mabanga. It's
It's like
Mbanga.
an initial.
Yeah, that always really cracks me up. I'm like, you didn't notice there's an apostrophe there? It's kind of like it's kind of like McCoy and the Cellet. I had this pet say a
Yeah,
lot. Cellet?
yeah,
Where did you get
yeah.
that? The thing I thought when I got finished reading that one shot was I would love to see more stuff that mixes crews like that.
Yeah. Well, I will say you should be reading, and I'm sure you are, Mike Johnson's ongoing.
Well, I'm reading the Q stuff
Yeah,
right now. It's
he
really
is finally getting to mix things up in that series now, and it's great fun. I really enjoy it.
I thought the first issue of that arc was just stellar, and to find out that he's getting 6 issues to really flesh that
Yes.
out, that's really cool. Because one of my issues with that series, I've loved a lot of stuff that they've done with that, but one of my issues with that series is a lot of the time the arcs just don't seem long
Nah,
enough.
I agree.
You get 2 issues, and I'm like, well, you got 22 pages a piece, and if you're not doing a full minute a page. It doesn't feel like a full 45-minute
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
But now he's getting 6 issues for the Q thing, and you can tell he's really taking his time, and you can't help but have John Delancey in your head.
Yeah, no, his Q is great, and
Yeah.
I got to write Q, so I know how much fun he is to write. So he's having a great time.
So when that series was originally pitched, was there any talk about you guys doing it?
With the ongoing?
Yeah.
No, well, initially when it first started, that was whenever when the book first hit, and it was very much that they wanted to have guys who were currently working for Bad Robot to be the ones to handle it.
Oh, is that what it
Yeah,
was?
because
Oh,
they were in the office every day. They knew what Abrams would and wouldn't be doing, so it just made sense to have guys who were very much involved in their process to do the ongoing.
I didn't mean to try to hit you with something hard hitting. I was just
Oh, no,
curious because
I mean, there's
you guys did so much Star Trek. I was just surprised that you didn't that you weren't asked to do that.
yeah, that was the reason why.
What do you think of the Abrams movies?
Um, the first one, I think the casting is great. I mean, Carl Urban's fantastic. Uh, I thought Chris Pine does a good job of doing Kirk without doing Shatner.
Yeah,
Um,
I love Pine. I think he's
I
great.
will confess, I have not seen the second one. Yeah.
Really? Did you just not care for the first one enough to go?
Well, part of it was I had proofed some of the because I also do some copy editing for IDW as well. So I had proofed some of the comics, so I kind of knew where things were going. And it was kind of a busy summer, and it was one of those where I meant to see it every weekend, and I didn't, and I was like, well, I'll get to it on like a Blu-ray. So I mean, it had
Wow.
all been spoiled for me because I saw the issues beforehand. So there was no going in, I wouldn't be surprised. And then, like I said, it was just a matter of it being a busy summer. I didn't get to it.
I guess that's a blessing and a curse, right? Like there's all this cool stuff that you get to know, but then you know it early.
Yeah, but part of being working in comics is you have to accept the fact that you're going to be spoiled on everything. It's just a kind of it goes with the territory.
Okay, so I got to switch gears for a minute. You are the first person I have ever talked to, I think, who writes comics and sells them.
But there's a couple of us. There's a few, but that's not that common a thing.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So obviously, so I'm assuming the store came first.
Oh, no. I only opened a store to about we've only been open about 2 years. Yeah.
Really? Okay, all right. That's really cool. Okay, so what inspired
Well, a
that?
good friend of mine, Judd Myers, he was looking to he ran a very successful store here in Los Angeles. He actually won the Eisner for best retailer, and he was looking to open a different kind of shop. And
Yeah.
so he approached me, and we'd been good friends for a few years. And he asked if I wanted to go in with him and open this new kind of store. And at the time, my freelance writing was slowing down a bit, so I had more time. And I thought, yeah, let's do it. I mean, the idea of what we wanted to do with it was to make a story that was more the story we wanted, that was more focused on vintage and more focused on reading and more focused on the history of comics, which seemed very appealing to me.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I'm assuming that you probably have a lot more volume. This may be going without saying, going through your register of back issues
Oh yeah,
than most stores
our,
do.
our entire like the walls of our store are almost entirely covered with vintage books from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. We have a massive bin of back issues that we constantly refresh, and then a good sized warehouse as well. So vintage is really kind of the lifeblood of our store.
So you're mostly a used store, or are you? Are
Oh,
you? I
we
mean,
still carry all the new books.
but you do
Oh
carry.
yeah,
Well, I was going to ask you
yeah.
that. So you do have a diamond account.
Oh, of
You are
course, yeah.
carrying.
You can
Okay.
get you can get all your current comics from us. We can order you anything through Diamond. All the new trades and hardcovers. We carry all of that, but we have a focus on vintage that a lot of stores don't.
I am currently putting together a documentary about comic book stores across the Midwest, and have we just did a big trip. We went to 9 stores across the Midwest. That movie's coming out in December, and if it goes well and I ever do one down your way, I'd love to visit your store and talk to you about
Yeah.
stuff. I want to ask you a couple of things that I asked some of the retailers on my trip, and one of them is, are you seeing digital affecting you at all?
Not really, no. I mean, if anything, digital is to a degree kind of a boon. It's letting people sample things.
Yeah.
And what we see happening more often than not is people will download an issue or two, and if they like them, then they want to come in and buy the trade. Then people still want that hard copy of that book if they like it on the shelf. And especially since our focus is so much on vintage and on collectability, that aspect of it makes us kind of where digital can't really hurt us that much.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose not. I mean, especially if I get, like you said, you sell new, but especially if back issues are the big huge thing you guys do. So I'm assuming you probably have more collectors than readers that come in,
Oh no,
or is
not
it?
our readership is our reader base is so strong that we've actually we carry a very healthy and growing section of prose books and novels.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
so I mean we're very much a reader store.
Okay, so you're a straight up bookstore on top of
Yeah,
it.
we try to be.
That's really neat. Do you see kids?
We have a thriving kids section.
Good.
And this is where IDW has really been coming through for us, and
Oh
Boom as
yeah.
well. Between Adventure Time from Boom and then My Little Pony and the Cartoon Network books from IDW, we have so many kids coming in, so many young female readers, which is great. But you also have to work to kind of cultivate that audience too.
Oh, of
So
course.
yeah, our kids section is one of my favorite things about the shop.
So do you find that your time is like really thin now doing both of those
Oh,
things? Like are
you
you
have no
are you in are you in the store all the
no,
time or do you?
my partner Judd, he runs the day to day.
Okay,
I
cool.
handle the social media and the website aspect of things. We have a very, I mean, because I've been still been keeping up my comics history website, Comics 101, that I've been doing for like the last 10 years, and so I still do that. And then we all,
I've seen it. I didn't realize that was
well, that's
you.
me, yeah.
That's awesome.
And so we try and do that for blastoffcomics.com as well. We have a theme every month, and we have books on the site for sale that go with that theme. And then I myself and I have a kind of a rotating squad of writers who write historical pieces and reviews and commentary about comics for that theme. This month has been Marvel Cosmic because Guardians are coming out. So
Yeah.
so there's been pieces on the site about the death of Captain Marvel and about the Guardians and about the Scrolls and the Fantastic Fours, cosmic stuff. And then we also have a pretty active YouTube channel where we do kind of pieces in the shop where Judd, myself, and our manager Harley talk about the history of the characters. Like Harley just put up this fantastic two-part discussion of Thanos. I thought was great. And that's on YouTube, and you can also find it on our Facebook and on our website.
That's awesome. So, I mean, obviously, most people probably look at at your comics career and think of you as more of a sci-fi guy, but obviously, you're a superhero guy
I'm
too.
such a superhero guy. Yeah,
Very,
so
very
very
cool.
much.
Yeah. Have you seen Guardians yet?
Saw it yesterday.
Yeah. How'd you feel about it?
So much fun.
So much
I
fun.
mean, I'm not sure if I'm prepared to say it's better than Avengers. It might be, but I haven't had that much fun in a theater.
Yeah, I had the same thing. They're different things. I think it's a better team building
I
movie
think
than
so too.
Avengers.
Yeah. Well, also because Avengers, not only since you had the other films to kind of lift some of the weight, Avengers bore the weight of such expectations.
Of
With
course. Yeah,
Guardians,
Guardians got to be whatever it wanted to because nobody had heard of it.
even guys like me who are like hardcore superhero Marvel fans, I don't have that kind of investment in Peter Quill that I do in Iron Man and Captain America. So I can go into this film and just let it take me, you know. And I
Yeah.
thought Peter Gunn did a fantastic Peter Gunn. I thought James Gunn did a fantastic job. He's great.
Yeah. He was wonderful, and I saw a movie from his a few years ago called Slither. I didn't like it. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this. I thought he did a brilliant job.
Yeah. No, Guardians. That kind of shows what Marvel Studios can do now. Where I mean, they've got the clout to take some of the really obscure stuff in that library, get good people on it, and just turn them loose.
Well, I also think that for the big, broad audience that isn't really into comic books, it's helping them look more like a studio and less like we make superhero films.
Oh, completely.
So it's all set in the same universe, but they're making movies of all kinds of different genres. So in the same year, they made a fantasy film, they made an espionage film, and they made a sci-fi comedy.
And to go back to that point, Winter Soldier was tonally such a different film than the first Captain America movie, and
Yeah,
yet
yeah, you're
and yet
you're right.
they're
In
both
that same franchise,
yeah,
they're different. They're almost of different
and
genres,
they're
aren't
yet
they?
both completely valid Captain America films.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and follow each other fine.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
No, Guardians, it just blew me away. I really enjoyed it.
So I know you said that IDW has been coming to you guys for really cool, strange Trek things. Do you have a dream Trek project that you'd love to do
Uh,
that that like keeps you up at night?
my answer is always the next one, really. I mean, I've been very lucky in that I've gotten to kind of like do a little bit of almost everything in the Star Trek universe. And
Yeah.
so there's nothing that I haven't. We did a Deep Space Nine miniseries a few years ago that I really enjoyed. Voyager and Enterprise tend to be tougher sells in comics, so I don't see those being in the cards. But as far as being able to do classic stuff and being able to focus in on characters, and then to get these crazy ones like the Doctor Who and and now the Planet of the Apes, which is just, if you had told 7-year-old Scott that one day he'd be writing a Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover,
Oh
it's
yeah, that's so.
insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. And what's really interesting about that now, I heard that that was happening, but I don't know much about. Is it TOS?
It is classic Trek and classic Apes.
Oh, that's fantastic! And here's the thing: I watched that the original last week in preparation for the new stuff because I have to confess I was never into Planet of the Apes, and I finally said, you know what, I'm just gonna finally get into this, and I went, holy crap! Look at what I was
Yeah,
missing.
yeah.
68 Planet of the Apes is one of it went from I don't care about this to on my top 10 science fiction films of
Oh,
all
me too.
time. And what is wrong with me being a sci-fi buff having never finally said it? For me it was always well I know what the ending is.
Right.
So why would I watch? Well, I watched it and I said this is a really dark TOS
It
episode.
really, really, it
What
completely.
it is it's a dark TOS episode mixed with uh well and of course Rod Serling wrote it,
Yeah,
but mixed with Twilight Zone
and it
and
holds up really well, doesn't it?
yes, it does. It's great. Both in effects, practical effects, and in storytelling. And the pacing is good.
Hmm.
It's slow, but it has to be. So mixing that with TOS makes perfect sense.
Right, and it's classic Apes. We get to use Charlton Heston. We get to use Taylor and Nova. So it's really, really going to be fun.
That's awesome. So is it going to be including any of the canon of the sequels, or is it going to be just we don't have to worry about anything but the first one?
Um, Without giving anything away, if you've seen the films, you know that if we're using Taylor, there's not much further in the films that can go.
Oh,
You
okay,
know,
okay.
have you watched Beneath Planet of the Apes yet?
I haven't. I've been staying away from the sequels because I've heard not good
You
things
you
about a lot of
you
them.
need to watch Beneath.
Okay, I will. I will.
Beneath, I mean, Beneath is not a. I mean, I say this a lot, and people will make fun of me, but I think Planet of the Apes is kind of a perfect film. I mean, it works very
So too.
well.
Yeah.
There are no plot holes in that thing that don't make any sense. The performances are great. It still stands up. Beneath is not to that level of being a perfect film, but it just has such insane stuff in it, and the choices they make are unbelievable. So you need to watch Beneath.
Is that the one where they blow it up?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it is.
That's the one thing I know. I'd heard that. Okay, what do you think of the new ones?
Again, the last one I loved. I have not seen the new one yet.
Oh man,
I got
go.
no. It's more a matter of getting to the theater because the last 2 weeks have been all Comic Con all the time. So I'm gonna try and go this week.
Caesar is one of the most interesting leader characters I've seen in a very long
I'm really,
time. I think those movies are wonderfully
I'm
sophisticated
really,
for.
and what I liked about them too is compared to the Tim Burton film, which I was not a fan of.
Yeah.
These don't invalidate anything about the classics.
No, I mean it's a reboot, but it's faithful to that in ideas
Hmm.
at least. Yeah.
And that was one of the things I really liked about Abrams' first Trek film is that it didn't undo the stuff I love. It didn't say that stuff never happened. It created a split timeline to a degree that everything I loved about classic Trek all still exists. New stories can still be told, and I thought that was one of the best things about the Abrams film was that it didn't alienate classic fans.
Yeah, I felt like the script actually tried to make a really big deal out of that
Yes,
as often as it could because I like to quote as often as I get a chance when Nero goes, "You can't tell me it didn't happen. I was there. It happened."
yes, exactly.
I'm like, wow, he's a raging TOS fan. is what he is. That's fantastic. Tell me a bit about Doctor Who. What is your fandom of that compared to Star Trek? Do you know it as well?
Uh,
Can you know it as
well,
well?
yeah,
Given as
that's
much
the thing. It's
as
almost impossible to know it as well unless you're 60 years old and grew up in England. But
and that doesn't sound like you. As far as I can tell, you did not grow up
no,
in
I mean
England.
I grew up as a kid watching the occasional Doctor Who stuff on PBS. I would see some Baker episodes here and there. I watched all the Dalek ones. Very rarely would I see a Peter Davison episode. But my real introduction into Doctor Who as a fan, where I fell in love with it, was with the relaunch with Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
And the Eccleston and the Tennant stuff, to me, those seasons, those are the seasons I love. And so that was what, but then from that became my launching point to really appreciating the mythology, and then to going back and getting the episodes and watching all the old stuff, and watching what's best about every Doctor. So I mean, I came to the classic stuff late, but I did dive in with both feet.
Did you have to go to that stuff in order to prepare yourself to write for it, or had you already done
Well,
that?
for Star Trek Doctor Who, since that was all Matt Smith, I was caught up, so that was no problem.
Oh, okay. But didn't you do some Doctor Who work
Oh no,
before that?
that was my first, was Star Trek Doctor Who.
Okay, I thought you did another thing before. Was that later?
Well, after that, we did Prisoners of Time, which was the anniversary series.
I see. Okay, I didn't read that, so I didn't know when
Yeah,
that
and
happened.
with
I just
with
knew that I knew you'd done that, but I didn't know where it
yeah,
was.
and
Okay,
with Prisoners
all
of
right.
Time, that was the one where the BBC asked us to do a big story involving all the Doctors. So
Yeah.
every
Okay.
issue of Prisoners is an adventure of each of the classic Doctors with a larger story tying them together. And for those, we did have to do a lot more research, because even though I'd watched plenty of episodes and I was familiar, to get every Doctor's tone and speech pattern, and we really wanted to capture the mood of each era, right? So there was a lot of back viewing for Prisoners of Time.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
that's got to be tough because you got 12 different versions.
yeah.
You've got to get the voices right
And
for.
plenty of
Yeah.
them had never met, like First Doctor, Second Doctor, and most of Third Doctor had never aired in the States. So you can only get those on home video, and not much of Sixth or Seventh had either.
Yeah, and of course, as everybody knows, some of that stuff is
Yeah,
lost.
especially with I think it's mostly one and two the stuff that's lost now.
I don't know how much of it is lost, but
I mean, there's certainly enough that I was able to there's plenty out there to watch. So it wasn't as if I was at a loss for material. But it is kind of
yeah.
exciting that any given day somebody in like some warehouse in England could open a trunk and find new episodes that we haven't seen. That's pretty cool. That's never gonna happen with Star Trek.
So, would you agree with me if I were to say that IDW is a way better company now than it was 5 years ago?
Oh, I don't think there's any question of that, and that's not a knock on the
No, it's
IDW
not.
of 5 years ago. It's
No, and and when I say that, I'm not knocking it. I'm praising
Yeah,
them.
that's a credit to the people who run that company.
Yeah, because they were already doing a lot of really cool things, but the two big things that I think that they did, just because I just want to praise them for a minute, because I've got you on, and I think IDW is doing amazing things. The two big things that I've been so happy with are that first they took those great licenses they had and they started doing monthlies.
Yes.
That was the best thing they ever did because a lot and I would imagine that you probably had to wrestle with this some. A lot of the stuff they would do, it would be like, okay, you could do Star Trek, but you've only got 2 issues to tell a whole story.
Right.
That's got to be tough.
Well,
And I'm not saying that you didn't do a good job. I'm just saying that that's got to be tough.
well, it was, for example, I mean, I thought, because I normally I really tried not to read reviews, because I got this actually is from
I know. I'm sorry. We critics are your greatest
well, no,
enemy.
it's not even that. It's Penn Jillette wrote that if I start believing all the good stuff, then I have to believe all the bad stuff. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's better not to read anything. So I
sure.
generally I don't look at reviews at all. But the downside is occasionally somebody will post a review and then they'll tag you on it on Twitter. So then
And
so,
so you
so
just see
then it's
it.
right there. So it's so hard not to hit that link. So I did see a few reviews for Flesh and Stone, and they're mostly positive, which I was happy about. But there was a common thing was that they felt like it was too short, and I'm like, well, yeah, I only had 20 pages. I
Yeah,
would have loved to have had 2 issues of that to really get into it, but I've only got so much
that's
time.
not your fault. Yeah, that's not your fault. And there's just a lot of those high concept things. It's hard to do in 22
Yeah.
pages. And the other thing that I've been really impressed with them for doing is just the licenses they've been picking.
Yeah.
They've been really smart in the new stuff they're grabbing up, and like I don't know, they're putting stuff in comic book form that I never thought I would see and never thought would work in comic book. X-Files.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been X-Files comics, but like the season 10 thing has been great.
No, what they do, and this comes from Chris Ryle, who's very smart with this. They don't go after any license that they're not a fan of. So if there's not people on staff who say, "I love that project, I know I could do good things with it," they don't go after it. So anything you see IDW doing, you know there's going to be people there who is invested in that property and want to take good care of it and make great comics.
Yeah, well, and it's great that they have that attitude because it shows in the work.
Yeah.
And also, they're just the best company for kids right now.
They're putting out such good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of even their regular stuff is kind of okay for kids to read, and I really appreciate that. Like, I would hand any kid over the age of 8 current Ninja Turtles.
Oh, for sure.
Say you really should read this, because not only is it really fun and it's got all that great silly Ninja Turtles iconography, but you're you're gonna learn something. It's like it's really about storytelling.
Yeah, and it's good, serious, dramatic stuff. And there's no reason why kids can't get really tense things. There's no problem with scaring kids with scary stories if the stories are good, and what you're getting out of it is great stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, Scott, anything you'd like to plug before we go?
Right now we're cranking along. JK is painting away, so issue 3 of The City on the Edge will be out this month. And right now we're full speed ahead on Star Trek Planet of the Apes, The Primate Directive. I'm so happy.
The Primate, what a great
I'm so
title.
happy with that title. Yeah.
When is that coming out?
It'll launch in December. 5 issues.
Oh boy, I can't wait to read that. It's gonna be great. Well, Scott, thanks so much for being on with me, man.
I appreciate it. Anytime.
This was a really fun conversation, and I would love to have you and your brother back, because I really want to make you guys do some Star Trek trivia.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, let's talk again whenever Apes comes out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We will do that. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. As always, sure appreciate it. I am Captain Logan, and I will see you again very shortly.